Friends, now let us focus on your other three concepts which are dealing with your general provisions of your import and export policies, where we'll be focusing on your import export code, then registration come membership certificate, and finally status holder. We have 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 stars status holders based on your export performance. Now let us start with your IE code. Friends, understand that when you talk about your import export code, few important things that you have to remember. Your IE code is PAN based. Rather, the same PAN number becomes your IE code after your application of IE code. So, IE code is fully based on your PAN number. Earlier 10 digits IE code was given, but it was a random 10 digits number. Now your IE code is for totally PAN based with effect from 1st of July 2017. So, it is 10 digit number and it is totally PAN based, and one person, whether natural or artificial person, can have only one IE code. Right, so this point also you have to understand, one person can have only and only one import export code, not more than that. Now friends, when you talk about your import export code, certain things that you have to understand. When you talk about application for your IE code, when you talk about your application for your IE code, it is online application. It is fully online application to DGFT, your Director General of Foreign Trade. You have to follow the procedure mentioned in Handbook of Procedures Volume 1 by DGFT. And what are the documentation that you have to submit at the time of making online application? You have to give, rather there was a requirement of giving your photograph, there was a requirement of giving your copy of PAN number, there was a requirement of digital signature certificate. Now friends, they have said that all these things are not required. What they require is the address certificate and more importantly a cancelled check. So now if you see this particular thing, they do require only the address proof and the cancelled check bearing the pre-printed name of the assessee or the bank certificate if there is no cancelled check, if the bank account is yet to be opened. Rather bank account is already open, it is always better to go for your cancel check which will have the pre-printed name of the assessee. Bank certificate, even as though it is mentioned, you can get it, but always advisable go for your cancel check copy. Now friends, all these documentation which are required earlier, photograph not required, copy of PAN not required because it is already integrated with your CBDT database, Central Board of Direct Taxes. Digital signature certificate not required. So what are they trying to tell? They want only the address proof plus your cancelled check which has the pre-printed name of the company or your bank certificate if at all you are not giving the cancelled check. So that is required when you are talking about your online application. That is required when you are talking about online application. Now friends, next important point, there is a myth that only for goods sector you require IE code. No, this IE code is required both for your goods sector as well as for your service sector. More importantly, if at all you are talking about taking the benefits of your foreign trade policy. Goods sector, it is required both for importing as well as exporting the goods, also for taking the benefits of your foreign trade policy. So there is a big myth that you require your import export code only if it is goods, when you are importing the goods or exporting the goods. True, but for taking the benefits of your foreign trade policy, you should have IE code, which means even if you are talking about service sector, for taking the benefits of your foreign trade policy, we will be discussing a scheme called as Service Export from India scheme. You require IE code. IE code is must. So this point is usually not carefully understood. So if at all you are there in service sector and if you want the benefits of foreign trade policy, you are also required to take your import export code. You are also required to apply your import export code. And friends, whenever you are importing or exporting the goods, and if at all you are having your GST number, if at all you are importing or exporting the goods, and if at all you have your GST number, mention the GST number at the time of your import and at the time of your export of goods. Reason, you have to mention the GST number at the time of import so that you can get the input tax credit of your IGST, right? And at the time of export, you have to mention that because you can get the rebate or refund of your IGST. Both these points, friends, we have discussed in your GST. What are they trying to tell? Should you mention GST number? Not necessary. You should not be a holder of GST number for sure. But if at all you are having GST number, at the time of import of goods, mention your GST number so that you are in a position to take input tax credit of IGST element of customs duty. Customs duty will have BCD, social welfare surcharge, and IGST as normal customs duty. You can take the credit of IGST, for which you have to give your GST number at the time of import. At the time of export, you are also required to give GST number so that you will get the rebate or refund of your IGST. So if at all you are talking about a refund under your GST, obviously you should mention your GST number. You should mention your GST number. And friends, if you understand all these points, you will find that everything which is discussed here, talking about the basics of your import export code, where it is mentioned that even a service provider requires your import export code, talking about your I code based on your PAN number, that is also discussed, and whether you should mention GST number, not necessary, but if you are importing exporting goods and if you have GST number, please mention that. Why at the time of import? Because you want to take the credit of your IGST limit of customs duty. Why at the time of export? Because you would like to go for refund under your GST. So that is the reason why you have to mention your GST number at the time of import and export of goods. And friends, if you don't have your GST number, certain categories will have their unique identification number. Certain people, we have discussed that you are talking about international organization. They will not give their GST number. Instead of GST number, friends, they will have unique identification number. So your international organizations will not have GST number. They will have unique identification number, which you have clearly discussed in your GST concept at the time of discussing registration. Even the documentation that is required, we have discussed that. We have discussed the same. Right. So that is everything about your import export code that you have discussed. Now friends, the next concept that you have to understand, we are talking about registration cum membership certificate, RCMC. Registration cum membership certificate, which is given by your export promotion councils. Now friends, this registration cum membership certificate is required if at all you want to enjoy the benefits of your foreign trade policy. So if at all I am talking about your registration cum membership certificate, right, who gives them? It is given by your export promotion council or Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. Normally it is by EPC, at times it is given by FIO, Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. So they are the persons who are going to give this RCMC. We'll discuss when EPC gives it and when FIO gives it. Now why this registration cum membership certificate is required? You do require registration cum membership certificate only and only if you want to take the benefits of your foreign trade policy. If you want the benefits of foreign trade policy, you should have registration cum membership certificate. If you don't want the benefits of your foreign trade policy, then this registration cum membership certificate is not mandatory. If at all you want the benefits of foreign trade policy as an exporter, you do require registration cum membership certificate. Is the first point. Right. Now friends, let us understand what is this export promotion council. Friends, this export promotion council, EPC, is nothing but a non-profit organization. Right, either registered as a company or a society, taking care of a product or group of products. It is nothing but an association of trade association. It is nothing but a macro trade association. Right, it will take care of the exporters of its their products, and it will promote them to export more. So whenever exporter of that particular product is facing any difficulty, he will communicate with this export promotion council. Right. So when you talk about your export promotion council, EPC, they are nothing but your non-profit autonomous organization, either registered as companies or society. Right, and they are responsible for promotion of export of a group of products that we have discussed. They will be focusing on a single product or group of products. Right, now they are nothing but they will be having the members of these EPC will be the exporters of that particular item or group of items, where the exporters will find it easy to communicate with EPC, and EPC will further communicate with Board of Trade. Friends, if you remember, we have discussed initially there's something called as Board of Trade, and I said this Board of Trade is very similar to your GST Council and GST, right? And if you remember, then this Board of Trade, the ex officio members would be you're talking about your members, chairman of this reputed export promotion councils will be also representing in Board of Trade. So exporters will talk to these export promotion councils if at all they are facing some difficulties, and these export promotion councils will be talking to Board of Trade, and the Board of Trade will be then advising the government with respect to trade difficulties and the policies that has to be brought, right? So these export promotion councils are organization of exporters. What is the objective? Objectives to promote and develop Indian exports, right? They will monitor and encourage exports of a particular product or group of products, and they'll always give assistance to those exporters, right? The main objective of this EPC is to ensure that they are grooming the exporters so that of a particular product or group of products, so that the India's image with respect to export of that item is developed, so that they'll have a global platform, right? If I were to tell in a very simple way, very simple way, right? Exporters, whenever they want to communicate something with the government, they will communicate with their export promotion councils, and these export promotion council will be the ex officio members of your Board of Trade, which will further advise the central government. That is, you're talking about Ministry of Commerce and Industry when you talk about your foreign trade policy. And this would in turn solve the difficulty of a particular exporter, right? So whenever you talk about a big exporter, you'll always understand, if at all next time you're going for an audit of a big exporter, they'll always have this registration cum membership certificate, so that they can communicate with their respective export promotion council, who will further communicate with Board of Trade directly or indirectly. Why directly? They will be ex officio members in the Board of Trade, or indirectly through some other source, and finally that information will go to central government, and central government will take care of the needs of the exporters of that product or group of products, right? So that is the base objective. It is nothing but an organization of exporters in order to promote, monitor and assess the export. Promote, monitor and assess the export, so that India's image with respect to export of that product or that particular group of products is built up. Now friends, from whom you should get this RCMC? From whom you should get this RCMC? Who is going to issue your RCMC? Right. Now when you're talking about who is going to issue your RCMC, we will take this as a separate chart. Who is going to issue your registration cum membership certificate, right? If for your product particular, if I am an exporter, if I am dealing with a particular product, and if I have a respective export promotion council, say for example, for engineering products, you have a particular export promotion council called as Engineering Export Promotion Council. For apparels, you have export promotion council called as Apparels Export Promotion Council. For gems and jewelry sector, you have Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Councils. For tea, coffee, you have Tea Board, Coffee Board. Tobacco, you have Tobacco Board, who will be considered as export promotion councils. These are the examples, certain examples of your export promotion councils. Now, if for your product there is a particular export promotion council, if for your product there is a particular export promotion council, right? The first is a scenario, friends, where you're talking about you have a particular export promotion council. You have a particular export promotion council. Then RCMC will be given by that export promotion council. If for your product there is no export promotion council, if the product that you are dealing with as an exporter, you don't have a particular export, you don't have any export promotion council, then friends, this registration cum membership certificate will be given by Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. Federation of Indian Exporters Organization, FIO, right? And friends, there is one more scenario. If for your product, the product that you are dealing with, you have multiple Export Promotion Council. You have multiple Export Promotion Council. Then ask yourself a question. If go with that EPC where which is more directly concerned with your product. So if at all you are able to connect with that EPC which is more directly concerned, if you are able to find which EPC is more directly, which EPC, EPC1 is more directly concerned, EPC1 is more directly concerned with your product, then apply for RCMC with EPC1, that is Export Promotion Council 1, because it is more directly concerned. Supposing you are talking about multiple EPC, means for your product you have two Export Promotion Council, EPC1 and EPC2, and you are confused to whom you have to apply for RCMC. Now you see which is more directly concerned. If you find that EPC1 is more directly concerned, apply for RCMC from EPC1. If at all you are not in a position to find which is more directly concerned, you are not in a position to find which is more directly concerned, you don't know whether EPC1 or EPC2 is more directly concerned, you are not sure whether EPC1 is directly concerned with your product, or you are not sure whether EPC2 is directly concerned with your product, then apply for RCMC from FIO. Right. Friends, if you look at this particular chart, you will find that if at all you are talking about your product, there is only one single EPC, then apply for your RCMC from that Export Promotion Council. If for your product you don't have any Export Promotion Council, don't worry, you apply for RCMC from your Federation of Exporters organization. And a very peculiar scenario, for your product you have multiple EPC, EPC1 and EPC2, say for example. Right, find out which EPC is more directly concerned. If EPC1 is more directly concerned, apply for RCMC from EPC1 with that EPC Export Promotion Council which is directly concerned with your product, main stream of products, not your entire products, the main products that you are dealing with, go with that. See, it may happen that exporter is dealing with multiple items, right, but the main item is item 1 which has got a corresponding EPC, go with that particular EPC. But if you are dealing with multiple products and both happens to be equally important, and now you have two EPCs, now if at all you are not sure whether EPC1 or EPC2 is directly concerned with your main line of business, or both are equally concerned, then apply for your RCMC from your Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. So that is all about your RCMC. So now if you look at the theoretical portion, you will find that what is RCMC? RCMC is nothing but a certificate given by EPC or Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. Whether RCMC is mandatory, if at all exporter intends to go for export benefits, right, then obviously RCMC is mandatory. If he is not requiring any export incentives under foreign trade policy, then RCMC is optional. If you want, take it. If you don't want, don't take it. Now, what is Export Promotion Council? We have discussed. Then from whom you have to apply for RCMC? If at all you are dealing with a single product, exporter and that particular EPC is available, you have an Export Promotion Council, apply for RCMC from that EPC. If at all you are dealing with a single product but there is no EPC, apply for RCMC from your FIO, Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. If at all you are dealing with multi-products, 2 or more products, and you don't know, if at all, then ask yourself a question, then there are multiple EPCs, then RCMC will be obtained from that EPC which is more directly concerned with your main line of business. So main product, go with EPC of your main product, and if both the products are your main line, right, then go and get your RCMC from Federation of Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. It's not FEIO, it is Federation of Indian Export Organization, FIO. That's all about your RCMC, right. Friends, questions have been asked by your ICI, and with respect to your foreign trade policy, if you see the questions in your past exams, you are not sure from which area they will be asking. They have selected various areas in your foreign trade policy in your exam. So you have to be very clear with all these points, and things are really interesting. Now you do know the background of I code, you do know the background of RCMC. You are aware of the fact that import export code is also required by service providers. Normally the understanding was I code is required by goods sector. No, it is required by even service sector if they intended to go for the benefits of your foreign trade policy, mainly service export from India scheme. And friends, the next part, which is again very important, which has been repeatedly asked in your exams, is status holder. Status holder, right? As I said initially, your foreign trade policy has got a lot of data to remember. Now we'll be discussing about all the interesting concepts. Rather, only from your I code the real discussion of your foreign trade policy starts. Rest all was only the trials, which means that we are only discussing the basics. We were making the foundation strong for your further discussion. So only from your I code, all the important things are going to come, and only these points are really important. So if I were ignoring initial 4 hours discussion, I could not have completed the next 5 hours discussion easily. Right? Though I do know that I am covering your foreign trade policy in a big span of time, but I would like to ensure that you have understood the entire concepts of a foreign trade policy thoroughly, so that when you are revising, it will take very less time. So that you have to keep in mind, friends. Now friends, when you are talking about exporters, status holder, right? Now status holder is very simple. If at all you are a big exporter, you will be given the benefit of status holder, right? Whether all the exporters are given the benefit of status holders? No. Only big exporters who have proved their performance will be given the benefit of status holders. And what are the benefits of status holders? We'll be discussing in the fag end. Now, status holders are nothing but business leaders who have actually excelled in their international trade and successfully contributed to India's foreign trade, right? All exporters of goods and services having I code will be eligible for status holder, but based on export performance. So, technically speaking, all exporters are actually eligible. All exporters who are having, whether it is of goods or services, again friends, don't get it wrong. This is even for service sector, whether it is for goods or services or technology, you are very much eligible for status holder, but the status holder will be based on your status recognition. Now, how they will decide whether you are eligible for status holder? It is based on your export performance. It is based on your export performance. So all the exporters, whether of goods or services, if you are having import export code, you can go for your star, 1 star, 2 star status holder, 3 star status holder, 4 star status holder, 5 star status holder, right? Only thing is you have to prove your export performance, right? The status recognition will be based on your export performance, right? And as a mark of status performance, you will be given a status certificate, which is based on your status performance in terms of your foreign trade policy, right? Who are all eligible? Exporter of goods, both manufacturer as well as merchant exporter, manufacturer exporter as well as merchant exporter, exporter of services, even EOU units as well as SEZ units, right? So first, remove the myth that status holder is only for goods sector. No, it is even for service sector. Companies like your Infosys, which deals in service sector, technology, information technology, they are also eligible, very much eligible for status holder, and they have actually applied for status holder certificate. So remove that myth. Who are all eligible for status holder? Your exporter of goods, whether he is a manufacturer or a merchant exporter, exporter of service, 100% EOU as well as special economic zone, right? Now, only criteria is you should be having import export code, plus you should have achieved a particular export performance. Now, what is the category or criteria for export performance? Now, how many stars are there, friends? As already discussed, there is 1 star export house, 2 star export house, 3 star export house, 4 star export house, 5 star export house. That is the categories of export, status holder when you talk about star, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star export house. Now, based on what export performance? Right, based on what export performance? Now, if you are talking about 1 star export house, they should have 3 million, they should have achieved $3 million US. Now, we will be discussing much about it in the detailed discussion later. First, understand 3 million USD, that is 30 lakhs US dollars. 2 star, 25 million US dollars. 3 star, 100 million US dollars. 4 star, 500 million US dollars. And 5 star, 2000 million US dollars. So what is the export performance that they are expecting? $3 million, 3, 25, 100, 500, 2000 million dollars. That is, you are talking about 10 lakhs. So 30 lakhs US dollars, you are talking about 2 crore 50 lakhs, you are talking about 10 crores, you are talking about 50 crores, and you are talking about 200 crores. Dollars. Friends, you are talking about dollars. So first important thing that you have to understand here is the focus is on US dollars. The focus is on US dollars, not rupees. Don't confuse here. The focus is on US dollars. And what is the category? 3 million, 25 million, 100 million, 500 million, 2000 million US dollars. You should achieve that. And how you should check that achievement, etc., that we'll be discussing. Hold for a minute. That discussion will do. Now this you should be very, very clear when you're talking about your star houses or status holders. So few things that you have to understand when you talk about status holder or star houses. You're talking about status holders, or you can call them as star houses. Star houses. Friends, who are all eligible? We have discussed that eligibility is for exporter of goods as well as exporter of services. Exporter of goods, both merchant as well as manufacturer. Eligibility is even for your 100% export oriented units, even for special economic zone. All of them are eligible. All of them are eligible, but they have to prove their export performance. Only requirement is they should be having import export code. Obviously, they should be having your import export code. Your IE code should be there. Your IE, the moment any exporter, whether you're exporter of goods or services or technology or your 100% export oriented units or special economic zone, you are very much eligible for status holder or star house category. Only thing is you should be holding your import export code. Only thing is you should be holding your import export code. Now how to decide what is a status holder? Based on your export performance, they'll be giving you status recognition. And friends, what is that status recognition? 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star and 5 star. Right, 1 star, friends, is based on 3 million US dollars, 2 star 25 million US dollars, 3 star 100 million US dollars, 4 star 500 million US dollars and 5 star, friends, it is 2000 million US dollars. 2000 million US dollars. Now friends, when you calculate your US dollars, how you have to calculate? How you have to calculate your US dollars? What to include, what not to include? That is the next discussion, which is very, very important. What to include and what not to include, right? So practical questions come from these areas. What to include when you're calculating your US dollars? You have to calculate, you have to include both your actual exports as well as deemed exports. So you are going to include your actual exports as well as deemed exports. One of the example of deemed exports is supply to 100% export oriented units. So when you're talking about your actual imports, actual export, friends, the focus is on India to say other country, say for example India to USA, or it also includes India to special economic zone. For all the export benefits means India to special economic zone is treated as export. And if it is about export duty, India to special economic zone is not treated as export. That we have discussed long back as your Supreme Court judgment Tirupati Udyog, that we have discussed long back in your customs. Deemed exports example is you are talking about India to your 100% export oriented. One of the example, not we are going to discuss about deemed exports in your foreign trade policy as the last subtopic, right? And I have already discussed in your GST. Deemed exports of your GST is nothing but a subset of deemed exports of your foreign trade policy, right? So whatever deemed exports you have discussed in your GST will be there in your foreign trade policy, plus certain extra points will also be there in your foreign trade policy. Friends, if you are talking about your actual exports, what is the point they are trying to tell? Then you are talking about your FOB value. Your FOB value will be taken into account. And friends, as per your RBI norms, when you are supplying the goods to special economic zone, right, even to EOU, you need not get convertible foreign currency, you can get the amount in Indian rupees. So that is allowed. If you remember, our early discussion was all about export. Normally, export proceeds should be in foreign currency. Your invoicing order contract can be in Indian rupees or foreign currency, but the proceed should be received only in foreign currency. Exception wherever permitted by RBI. Example, to special economic zone, when you are supplying, you can get Indian rupees. If you are giving to 100% EOU, you can get in Indian rupees. If you are giving to Nepal, Bhutan, you can get it in Indian rupees. So that you have to remember. That will also be counted. But when it is deemed export, friends, you are not talking about your FOB value, free on board value, right? You are focusing on FOR value, free on road value, because it is not going outside India. FOB value is the value value when the goods are leaving India. FOB value is the value when the goods are leaving India. So it will include the ex-factory price plus the freight charges and insurance charges within India, plus the loading charges and the handling charges at the port or airport. So that is FOB value. FOR value is nothing but roughly ex-factory price. So when the goods are leaving your place, it is FOR value, free on road value, right? When you are actually exporting, it is FOB value, free on board value, when the goods are going on board a ship or a vessel or an aircraft or a vehicle, right? That is FOB value, when the goods are actually leaving India. FOR value, deemed exports, the goods are not leaving India. Rather, if I were to be very clear, India to USA, friends, they are focusing on FOB value, whereas India to special economic zone and India to EAU, they are focusing on FOR value, free on road value, which means ex-factory price. FOB value is ex-factory price plus local freights and taxes plus loading charges and handling charges when the goods are loaded and handled on the port or airport. That is FOB value. Here, when you are talking about deemed exports and your special economic zone, the goods are not going outside India, therefore the focus is on FOR value. So that, friends, you have to remember. Now certain things that you have to understand, certain other important points that you have to understand. What will be included, what will not be included, what will be included and what will not be included. Now friends, when you talk about inclusions and exclusions, your exclusions, right? Export, re-import and re-export, right? Export after re-importing, your export after re-importing. Rather, I need not tell this entire thing, I will just put in a very simple way. Export after your re-import, we have discussed this some time back. You are importing and then again re-exporting. So re-export after importing, rather the right term, re-export after import will not be counted, So this, friends, is not going to be counted, though it is an export figure, but you are re-exporting after you have imported something, again you have exported. That will not be counted while calculating your export performance. That is $3 million, $25 million or $100 million or $500 million or $2,000 million. What will be counted? Friends, when you are talking about export of SCOMET, which is after you get authorization, after permission, that will be counted. So export of SCOMET, that is your special chemicals, organisms, materials, equipments and technologies, though it requires authorization, that will be counted. But when you are talking about re-export after import, that won't be counted. You have imported something and thereafter you have re-exported, that would not be counted. That will not be taken into account while calculating your export performance. Now few other things. Holding company plus subsidiary company, both will be added, consolidated to find the export performance. So you have to, when they have the benefit where the holding company and subsidiary company can club their turnover, export turnover, and apply for export recognition. So your holding company plus your subsidiary company will do clubbing and then apply for export performance. Say holding company export performance is say 20 million USD and subsidiary company export performance is 10 million USD. They can go for your 2 stars, right? It is more than $25 billion. They can go for 2 stars. Why? Holding company is 20 million USD and subsidiary company is 10 million USD. Holding company is 20 million USD and subsidiary company is 10 million USD. So if they apply individually, they'll get only 1 star category. Now if they club, it is 30 million US dollars. They can apply, both of them can apply together for 2 stars. So this clubbing will be allowed. And similarly, a company having unit in domestic tariff area and special economic zone, that clubbing will be allowed. So export performance of DTA and special economic zone will be clubbed and then then they will apply for star houses. See, when clubbing is allowed, a particular company or group of companies can go for high stars, right? Say for example, DTA unit of Reliance Limited is say 10 million US dollars, and special economic zone unit of Reliance Limited is say 20 million US dollars export, right? Now they will club together and they'll see their total export, which is 30 million US dollars. Both of them will apply, both these units will get 2-star categories, 2-star export house category. So this clubbing is allowed. So this, friends, you have to remember. So friends, what are the important points that you have discussed here? You have found here that you are going to take into account your actual exports as well as deemed exports, which means for your actual exports, India, USA, you are going to go with FOB value, free on board value, when the goods are actually loaded and handled at your customs port or customs airport or land customs station. And when you are talking about the deemed exports, even when you are talking about special economic zone, which is not deemed exports, you are focusing on your FOR value, free on road value, that is roughly equal to ex-factory price. And friends, what is to be included, what is not to be included is very, 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 very crucial and important. Export of even SCOMET, export of even SCOMET, right? Special items, your special chemicals, organisms, materials, equipments and technologies will also be counted in your export performance, but re-export after importation will not be counted. Clubbing will be allowed for DTA units and special economic zone unit, which means that they can go for high star category if you do clubbing. Clubbing will also be allowed for your holding company and your subsidiary company turnover. Here you are talking about group of companies and here you are talking about separate companies. So in both the places, one place you are talking about group of companies and one place you are talking about a single company DTO unit and special economic zone unit. Now friends, if you look at all these points, computation, and one important point, how to convert it. If you are talking about FOR value, the conversion, because FOR value will be in Indian rupees. If it is in Indian rupees, the conversion will be based on CBIC rate as on 1st of April. The conversion of what conversion? The conversion of rupees to dollars will be based on your CBIC exchange rate given on 1st of April of every financial year, right? Because for your deemed exports, you will have FOR value. For your actual exports, you have FOB value, free on board value. For your deemed exports, you go by FOR value, free on road value, which will require conversion from Indian rupees to US dollars. That will be based on CBIC exchange rate notified on 1st of April of every financial year. Right, that point we have missed out. Now we have discussed that. Now if you see all your computation of your export performance, all these points we have discussed. All the points that are given we have discussed. Now one important note, transfer is not allowed. Transferring of star category by one person to another person is not allowed. Star category is for one PAN holder, that is one I code, you cannot transfer. Transfer is not allowed. Export performance, transfer is never allowed. Your export performance of one IE holder, one import export code holder cannot be transferred to another import export holder, which means that you can never transfer it even on disclaimer certificate. There are certain cases where you can treat your export as someone else's export, that we have discussed earlier, third party export, etc. But here for export performance, that will not be counted. That for your calculating export performance with respect to 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star or 5 star export houses, 5-star export houses, there you are not going to count it, right? So when you are talking about all these star export houses, that transfer is not allowed from one I code holder to another I code holder. Now friends, another important thing, the last important thing for your calculation, and next is only the benefits. Now in what years you have to prove your export performance? Normally you have to prove your export performance in the current year plus 3 preceding financial years. So normal sector, if I am talking about normal sector, you have to prove your export performance in current financial year plus 3 previous financial years, and you need not prove in all the 4 financial years. Export performance is necessary in 2 years out of these 4 years. What are the 4 years? Current year plus 3 previous financial years. But friends, if it is gems and jewelry sector, a repeatedly asked question, it is current financial year and 2 previous financial years. So when in which all years you have to prove your export performance? In your current year plus 3 preceding financial years, normal category. If it is gems and jewelry sector, current financial year and 2 preceding financial years. And you have to prove export performance not in all those years, only 2 out of 4 years normally, or 2 out of 3 years in gems and jewelry sector. So that 2 years is mandatory. Look at the example that is given below. PJ Limited manufacturing ready-made garments, it's not gems and jewelry sector, has applied for status recognition, right, status holder category on 30th of September 2018 for 1-star export house. Now PJ Limited shall achieve export performance of $3 million during the current financial year. Current financial means when it has applied in September 2018, that is from April 18 to September 18, it has to achieve that export performance also in 3 previous financial years. And it is not 3 previous financial years, financial year 17-18, 16-17 and 15-16. But it is not necessary that it has to achieve export performance in current year as well as all the 3 preceding financial years. What is necessary is 2 out of 4 financial years export performance should be proved. 2 out of 4 financial years export performance should be proved. So if I were to put this in a very simple way, in which all years you have to prove your export performance? Normal category, gems and jewelry sector category. Normal category, gems and jewelry sector. So normal sectors, all the other sectors I am calling it as normal sectors, right? So if it is normal sectors, this export performance should be proved in current financial year and 3 preceding financial years. 3 preceding financial years. And if it is gems and jewelry sector, it is current financial year and 2 preceding financial years. But understand that export performance is not required in all these years. If it is normal sector, 2 out of 4. How it is 2 out of 4 financial years? Current year and 3 preceding financial year is totally 4. So out of 2 out of 4 years, you have to prove your export performance, and in gems and jewelry sector, you have to prove your export performance in 2 out of 3 years. They are giving the benefit of even of current year. So you can apply for export star category or status recognition even in between of a financial year. So that advantage they do give. So you need not prove your export performance in all the 4 years. If we are talking about normal sector, what is taken into calculation is current financial year and 3 preceding financial year. You prove your export performance in 2 years out of these 4 years. And if it is gems and jewelry sector, you have to prove your export performance in current year and 2 preceding financial year. Not necessary in all the 3 years. You prove your export performance in 2 out of your 3 financial years. One is current financial year and the other 2 is previous financial year. So that is the important point that you have to remember. Now friends, you might ask, we have discussed about your star houses. That's all about your calculation part. That's all about your calculation part, which is being repeatedly asked. Now friends, if you ask what is the advantage of export house, what are the advantages? Why should I go for why should I apply for status recognition, 1-star export house, 2-star export house, etc., etc. Now, general benefits which are applicable to all the star houses, This is applicable for 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star export houses. Simplified procedure, self-declaration. Normally, wherever you require declaration or certification from someone else, right? So here your customs clearances and authorization will be based on self-declaration. You will not get any certification from other people. Say for example, certification from CA, CWA may be required in other cases, but here it is all self-declaration. Second advantage, quick fixation of your import-export norms. At times, you will not be happy with standard input-output norms. You will apply for your separate input-output norms. We have discussed about standard input-output norms in the beginning of the discussion, not in detail, only general understanding of standard input-output norms when you talk about your exports. So, if you are importing a particular item and you are promising that you will use it for manufacturing and exporting, they tell that export should be in a particular quantity based on your standard input-output norms. So, if the standard input-output norm is 2:1, and if you have imported 20 lakhs units of inputs, you should export minimum 10 lakh units of output. That is standard input-output norms. People may not be happy with standard input-output norms. They may go and apply for special input-output norms for their sector, for their company. Those who are not happy with standard input-output norms can always apply to norms committee and tell that I want to have a separate input-output norm for my company. I am not satisfied with your standard input-output norms that you have given. Now, these star houses are going for their separate input-output norms. It will be done very quickly within 60 days. Quick fixation of independent input-output norms. Standard input-output norms is applicable for the entire industry as such. Independent input-output norm will be applicable only for a particular company. And when you are going as a star house, right? There will be quick fixation of your independent input output norms. Exemption from bank guarantee. Lot of places they will be asking for bond, bank guarantee, letter of undertaking. Now if at all you are a star house, they will be giving you exemption from furnishing your bank guarantee unless specified that no even a star house category should give bank guarantee, then you have to give it. But in normal places wherever they have spoken about give bank guarantee, we'll be discussing in advance authorization, duty free import authorization, EPCG, that you have to give your bank guarantee. Now if you are a star category, if you are a star house, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, you are not required to give bank guarantee. They will trust you. They will trust that you will fulfill export obligation. See, why you give bond or bank guarantee? Only to ensure that you are going to fulfill your export obligation. So when you take advance authorization or EPCG authorization, you have to fulfill certain exports, and because of that you give bank guarantee, telling that if I am not fulfilling my export, then I have to pay I have to give back all the benefits that I have got, right? But star houses, they are not going to give any bank guarantee. So when they go for their advance authorization or EPCG, they don't furnish bank guarantee. Other exporters give bank guarantee to ensure that they are going to reach their export obligations. These exporters, they don't give any bank guarantee because government trusts them. They have already proved their mettle. They have already proved that they are big exporters. So they are not required to give any bank guarantee. Next, relaxation from compulsory negotiation of documentation when you are talking about banks. So a lot of documentation you have to submit through banks, that relaxation will be given, but obviously that relaxation is not for your BRC. So even a star house category should give a bank realization certificate, but other documentation, there are a lot of documentation that you have to route through your banks. Now that relaxation will be given, but obviously remittance or receipts, that is your bank realization certificate, would continue even if you are a star house. So they are telling that all the other documentation that you route through your banks, no need to give that. We trust you. We are big exporters. We trust you. But your BRC, even if you are a big exporter, a star house category, please submit BRC. Bank realization certificate is required for everyone, including star house. Relaxation in FEMA, right? So the time limit given for realizing your export proceeds. So these star houses can easily apply and get their export proceeds for an extended time, and that extension is easily given to them. So for realization of export proceeds is generally more compared to what is permissible for non-star star holders, star houses, right? What they'll tell that, see, I'm a big exporter, I'll tell that I want certain extra time for realizing my foreign exchange currency, for realizing the export proceeds in foreign currency. Now these star holders will easily get extension from RBI to get their export proceeds in foreign currency easily. So the time is normally higher for star houses compared to other exporters. Now if you look at all these 4 points, and the fifth important point that we'll discuss separately, if you go through all these 4 points, you'll find that these star houses, I'm talking about all the star houses, when I'm talking about the general benefits, these 5 general benefits is for 1 star category, 2 star category, 3 star category, 4 star category and 5 star export houses, right? Self-declaration basis, no need of any certification, first point. Second point, you don't require any bank guarantee. So when you go for advance authorization or EPCG, you have to give bank guarantee, but if you are a star exporter, you don't have to give any bank guarantee. Just a letter of undertaking, just a simple letter will be sufficient. Bank guarantee is not required. And normally if you are a normal exporter, a lot of documentation you have to route through your bank, including letter of credit. Now that is not required for a star house category. So if you are a star house category, no requirement of your documentation routed through bank channel. But obviously when you are talking about BRC, bank realization certificate, that is required even for a star house category. There is no relaxation for BRC even for a star house category. And the next point that you have discussed, normally the time given for star houses to realize their export proceeds is more compared to other exporters, and they will get the extension also very easily. They will get the extension also very easily to realize it, their foreign exchange proceeds, that is their export proceeds in foreign currency. Now the next point, if you are a star house category, another important point, you are allowed to give samples free of cost exports for export promotion. So when you are giving samples, it is only for export promotion. So if you are a star house category, you can easily give free samples for export promotion. Free of cost exports is nothing but free samples for export promotion. Free samples for export promotion. So star category can easily give free samples for export promotion. Now obviously for them also there is a limit. Now what is the limit that you have to understand, and it is a repeatedly asked question. Right, if at all you are talking about gems and jewelry sector or gold and precious metal sector, gems, jewelry including gold and precious metal sector, your free samples that you can send it for export promotion is 2% of average annual export realization in preceding 3 financial years, or 1 crore, whichever is lower. Gems and jewelry sector including gold and precious metal sector, for them the free samples that they can send outside India for their export promotion is lower of 1 CR or 2% of average annual export realization during the 3 financial years. If at all you are talking about supply of pharmaceutical products, that is medicines including vaccines, life-saving drugs, to whom? To health programs of international agencies. To whom? To health programs of international agencies such as your United Nations or World Health Organization or government health programs. So you are supplying pharmaceutical products to international agencies like your United Nations, World Health Organizations or government health programs. Then it is 8% of average annual export realization during the 3 preceding financial years. Licensing years refers to financial years. Now if you are talking about other sectors, other sector means other sector is any other case, or you are talking about pharma products by pharmaceutical companies but not given to international agencies. You are not supplying to health programs of international agencies. Normally you are supplying just normally, supplying your medicine products normally, pharmaceutical products normally, you are not giving it to health programs of international agencies. Then friends, it is 2% of average annual export realization, not exports value, export realization during 3 financial years. Now friends, what is the important point that you have to understand? Friends, we are talking about free of cost exports. What is this free of cost exports? In a simple language, it is nothing but free samples given for exports. For what? For promotion of exports. For promotion of export. Even exporters would like to promote their products, so they will be sending free samples for promotion of their exports. Now friends, what is the important point that you have to understand here is, it is bifurcated into 3 categories. How much you can give. This benefit is only for star houses. Other than star houses, they don't have the benefit of sending free samples. Where these free samples will also be calculated, will also be counted, or counted in your for benefits of your foreign trade policy. Now what is the percentage? If at all I am talking about gems and jewelry sector including gold and precious metal sector, right? Pharmaceutical products to health programs of international agencies. The last category is pharmaceutical products to others, right? And you are talking obviously about other sectors, general sectors. If nothing is given, you have to go with the last category. How much is allowed? Now if it is gems and jewelry sector plus gold and precious metal stones, it is lower of 1 CR, not higher of. It is lower of 1 crore, or you are talking about 2% of average annual export realization, which is based on preceding 3 previous financial years, right? This average annual export realization will be based on 3 previous financial years. If it is other sectors including pharmaceutical products to others, then friends, it is directly 2% of average annual export realization of 3 preceding financial years, right? And friends, if it is pharmaceutical products to health programs of international agencies, then they tell, okay, you are promoting, you are giving your free samples for what? Health programs of international agencies like your World Health Organization or United Nations, etc. Then they tell that, okay, we have to give a higher percentage. It is 8% of average annual export realization, which is based on your 3 preceding financial years. So you are going to take the average of 3 preceding financial years, which they here call it as licensing years. So this number, friends, you have to remember. Now you will tell, what if I am giving free samples more than this limit? No worries, if you are giving more than this limit, even a normal exporter can give, right? Am I trying to tell that normal exporter cannot give free samples? Yes, he can give, but that will not be counted for the export benefits. Now these will be counted for your export benefits in your foreign trade policies. These will be counted for your export benefits of your foreign trade policy. These will be counted, right? Now they will not be entitled to export promotion schemes. So they will not be counted in export promotion schemes, but for the other benefits in foreign trade policy, they will be counted. So the importance of this is, don't think that you cannot, normal exporters cannot give samples outside India. No, they can give, but they will not be counted for your export benefits in foreign trade policy. If the star houses are giving samples and within this limit, it will be even counted in the benefits of foreign trade policy. Now if you see, look at the example, I can explain this in a much simple manner. AJ Limited, a ready-made garments exporters, which means that it will come in general category, is a status holder. Whether it is 1 star, 2 star, it doesn't make any difference. So this benefit is for all the star categories. Its average export realization during the 3 licensing years is 1,500 lakhs. The question may not give this directly, they may give the data of last 3 financial years. You have to add all the 3 divided by 3. So average annual export realization, you have to find it out. If at all it is not directly given. In this question, it is directly given. It is wanting to export certain goods for export promotion on free of cost basis, which is worth 32 lakhs. Friends, if it is a normal category, a star house can export that to the extent of 2% of 1,500 lakhs, which is 30 lakhs. So up to 30 lakhs, it will be counted for the benefits of foreign trade policy, the benefits of your foreign trade policy. And this excess 2 lakhs, actually how much samples is given? 32 lakhs. So he is giving extra 2 lakhs. So that extra 2 lakhs will not be counted for benefits under foreign trade policy. For foreign trade policy benefits, this 2 lakhs will not be counted. Friends, you have to understand this very clearly. I am not trying to tell that only that much amount of samples can be exported. No. You are talking about a scenario where, if I were to explain this very clearly, very clearly, a star house, status holder, or a star house, non-star house, right, they are giving free samples. You are talking about free of cost exports for export promotion, right? Both of them can give. The only difference is, if at all it is given by non-star house, it will not be counted. They can send it, but it will not be counted for foreign trade policy benefits. And friends, if it is a star house category, up to the limit that we have discussed, it will be counted for your foreign trade policy benefits. And beyond that limit, whatever limit that we have discussed, normal limit is 2% of average annual export realization during 3 financial years, normal sector. But if you are talking about gems and jewelry sector, or if you are talking about gold and silver, other precious metal sector, it is lower of 1 crore or 2% of average annual export realization during 3 preceding licensing years. And if it is pharmaceutical products to health programs of international agencies, it is 8% of your average annual export realization. If it is beyond the limit, in our example, this 2% came to 30 lakhs. 30 lakhs was within the limit and 2 lakhs was beyond the limit. This 2 lakhs, friends, will not be counted for your FTP benefits. Now friends, here most of the students get wrong understanding, because most of them only tells that this is the limit. They don't explain the logic behind it. What are they trying to tell? They are trying to tell that yes, you can free of cost basis samples you can give at any limit. There is no restriction of that. Only thing is, if you are non-star house category, your free samples or free of cost exports will not be counted for your foreign trade policy benefits. Even a non-star house will get the benefits of foreign trade policy. That you have to understand. Only thing is, star house will get some relaxation. Both you have to understand even this point, whether you are a star house or a non-star house, FTP benefits are always applicable to you. Yes, star house will get certain relaxation, that's it. So don't think that only a star house will get FTP benefits. FTP benefits are everyone. But for non-star house categories, if you are giving free samples, free of cost exports, that will not be counted for foreign trade policy benefits. And if you are a star house category, up to the limit that we have discussed, that will be counted for your foreign trade policy benefits, and beyond the limit that we have discussed, that will not be counted for your FTP benefits. So that you have to understand. Right. Now, other benefits to notified star holders. Now, the other benefits that we are discussing is only for notified star holders. Now, if you are talking about 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, 1 star is not covered here. Right. You can easily open private bonded warehouse. Establishment of export warehouse. Is possible. You can go for your private bonded warehouse only if you are a star house category. That too, you should be 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star category. It is not applicable for 1 star category. Right. You are permitted to establish export warehouse as per your customs law. That is Department of Revenue means your customs law. Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance means your customs law. And goods can be taken to warehouse for subsequent exports from there without payment of taxes. So we have discussed that benefit earlier when we discussed import policies and export policies. Right. So private bonded warehouse can be opened only by 2 star category, 3 star category, 4 star category, 5 star category. Not possible by 1 star category. Right. The initial first 5 benefits that we have discussed, including sample benefits that we have discussed, that is free on cost export for export promotion. It is applicable for all 5 star categories. Now this benefit, warehouse, opening the warehouse, private bonded warehouse, is only applicable for 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. And the other benefits that we are going to discuss, the other 2 benefits, is applicable only for 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. It is not applicable for 1 star and it is not applicable for 2 star. So the other benefits that we are going to discuss is only applicable for 3 star, 4 star, 5 star categories. You can be an authorized economic operator. Friends, this we have discussed in your customs law. Authorized economic operator will give the benefit of deferred payment. They will not make the payment of import duty at the time of each bill of entry. Once in 15 days, they will be making the payment of import for all the bill of entries during that 15 days. And other benefits are also there. Right. Deferred payment of duty rules 2016 is applicable only for authorized economic operators. Now, only a 3 star category, 4 star category, 5 star category can go for authorized economic operator category. Right, only they can apply for authorized economic operator category. One of the benefit that authorized economic operator will get is deferred payment of duty rules. He will not make the payment at the time of filing of each bill of entry. He will be making the payment for group of multiple bill of entries filed during 15 days, and that due date we have discussed in your customs law. Other benefit is self-certification that the item is made in India. Right, they need not go to Export Promotion Council for telling that the item is made in India. Right, they can certify themselves when the goods are going outside India. Friends, even understand that if the goods are exported to USA will tell that if the item is imported from India, will give a preferential rate, lesser rate. Just like India, USA can tell, will apply preferential rate if the item is imported from India. Now, the USA importer has to give certificate of origin, certificate of country of origin. Now that certificate of country of origin, if you are a star holder, star house category, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star category, you can give your own certification that this item is manufactured in India, and you can give this certificate to importer of the other country, and the importer of the other country will give that certificate to their customs department to get the preferential treatment. Now friends, if you want to understand this category, the other benefits which are very important, repeatedly asked, right, if at all you are talking about opening of warehouse option, opening of warehouse, not warehouse option, rather you are talking about opening of warehouse, opening of your private bonded warehouse from where you can export the goods without payment of duty. This facility is only and only applicable for 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. It is not applicable for your 1 star category. Authorized economic operator, which one of the benefit is deferred payment of duty. One of the benefit is deferred payment of duty. And you have to also understand this, authorized economic operators are always required to make the payment electronically. They don't have the benefit of making the payment manually, which is there for others if it is up to 10,000 per bill of entry. For others, that 10,000 per bill of entry, you can make manual payment or electronic payment. More than 10,000 per bill of entry, electronic payment. But for authorized economic operators, always electronic payment. Even that we have discussed in your customs law, right, when we have discussed your import procedures. And friends, if you are talking about certification that it is made in India, right, to ensure that the foreign customer, USA customer, can give that to their customs department to claim preferential rate of duty, right. Now when you talk about these 3 points, there are a lot of other points. I am restricting myself to what is given in your ICA material here. This opening of private bounded warehouse is not applicable for 1-star category. It is only for 2-star, 3-star, 4-star and 5-star. And this authorized economic operator category, you can apply as a person who is having, who can be said as authorized economic operator, or this certification that the goods are made in India, which will be given to the foreign customer, and the foreign customer will give to his customs department to claim the preferential rate of duty because the items are imported from India. That, friends, is applicable or available only and only for 3-star category, 4-star category and 5-star category. It is not applicable for 1-star category or 2-star category. So friends, that you have to remember. Right. Now friends, you will understand that many of the policies that we have discussed in your GST as well as your customs, they are actually framed in your foreign trade policy. Though we have discussed the points there, but these points are originating from your foreign trade policy. They were actually originating from your foreign. So policy matters are decided by foreign trade policy with respect to import and export, and the implementation part implementation part which is done by writing a provision, section or rule number in your customs and GST is based on the policy matters set in your foreign trade policy. So in that way, you will find that export and import policies are set by your foreign trade policy, and correspondingly you have provisions in your GST and your customs to ensure that they match with the foreign trade policy. A small example which is given, with which we are done with your general provisions relating to import and export totally. A small point, this was a question in your ICA material, a very simple question. You have to explain in detail, etc., etc., but concept is very simple. 2 exporters, Red Sky Private Limited, Black Knight Private Limited, have achieved the status of status holders, 1-star export house, and both are having 1-star export house category in the current financial year. Both exporters have been regularly exporting goods other than gems and jewelry, right. What is the minimum export performance of these 2 exporters to achieve such status? So simple answer is, if they are having 1-star, it is $3 million, that is 30 lakhs US dollars, not rupees, 30 lakhs US dollars, right. Answer for the first part is over. Answer for the second part, both the exporters wants to establish their export warehouses. They want to open their own export warehouses in accordance with the applicable guidelines. If at all they want to open export warehouse, what should be their export turnover in order to open an export warehouse? See, export warehouse, this is the way questions are asked. Export warehouse can be opened only by 2-star category, 3-star category, 4-star category, 5-star category. So they should achieve 25 million US dollars, right, that is 2 crores 50 lakhs US dollars, right, and that achievement should be there in what years? So when I'm talking about $3 million, it should be in 2 out of the 4 years. 2 out of 4 years means you're talking about current financial year and 3 preceding financial year. Likewise here also, this $25 million should not be only in 1 year, it should be in 2 out of 4 financial years. Current financial year and the 3 preceding financial year, it should be there in 2 out of 4 financial years. Then they can apply for this warehouse. So that is the point, because only a 2-star category, 3-star category, 4-star category, 5-star category can go for export warehouses. That's all about this question. And if you look at the question is drafted beautifully. They want you to explain all these points, right? So if you see the first part of the question, if they have 1-star house, the number is $3 million US dollars. They would have achieved that already in 2 out of the 4 years. What is that 4 years? Current year and the 3 preceding financial years. And if they want to open export warehouse, don't just write 25 US dollars is required. No, it is incorrect. They may achieve 25 million US dollars in the current year, but what is required is 2 out of 4 financial years they have to achieve that. 2 out of 4 financial years, they have to achieve 25 million US dollars. Just in the first financial year, when they achieve 25 million US dollars, they will not get that star house category. So they have to achieve minimum 25 million US dollars in 2 out of 4 financial years. And what are those 4 financial years? Current financial year as well as 3 preceding financial years. So these type of questions are asked where you have to be very clear with the concept, and when it's very clear with the concept, things are very, very simple. So that's all about your general provisions relating you to your import policies and export policies in your foreign trade policy.